evening, sir.
Guys, ano pala tayo pray? Sino pala maging prayer leader for tonight? Hello? O si Heartweek na lang. Nakita ko siya kanina. Heartweek, please lead our opening prayer.
Sir, start ko na, sir?
Alright.
Father, the Son of the Holy Spirit, Amen. Our Father who art in heaven, holy be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Give the Father, the Son of the Holy Spirit.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. So yesterday, I finished the introduction dun sa IS and some part of the natural immunity. Tapos na rin namin. Have you watched our pre-recorded video last night?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so pero naintindihan naman lahat yung lecture ko last night. Naintindihan ba lahat? Or press 1 kapag naintindihan nyo. Hello? Okay lang kayo? Hi, good evening. Wait lang, anong section tong tinuturuan ko ngayon? Section A and C, tama ba? Or only one section?
Sir, may mga ibang section na rin po na pumasok. Halo-halo na po, sir.
So halo, pero majority,
C
section
po.
what? Section, C ba ngayon? Kala ko A.
Sabi mo po kagabi, sir.
Akala ko A and C.
Konti pa lang po yung nasa A, sir.
Sinong bidal ko sa C? Si Tam?
Opo.
Ay, oo pala.
Sir,
si Tam.
ako po. Sir, A and C po ngayon.
Oo nga pala, no? So, naintindihan naman natin yung lecture kahapon, di ba? So, let's proceed na sa adaptive immunity. Tama? Doon na tayo nag-end, di ba? Adaptive immunity. Sorry. Hindi ako pwede makapag-share ng screen. Gawin mo akong host. Diba? Kailangan niyo akong gawing host. Tama ba? Hello? Pwede
Okay na po,
share
sir.
Okay. Ano na ito? Ayun pala. Alright. So, we're all set. Hi. So, weekend pala bukas. It's Kung Hei Fat Choi, diba? Chinese New Year. So, do you have plans this coming weekend? Because it's, diba, Valentine's Day. May mga plano na ba kayo? Hirap. Ayun. Okay. Anyway, so, ayun nga, yesterday we're done with the detailed discussion of the natural or your innate or your non-specific or your native immunity. And now let's proceed with adoptive immunity. The main feature of adoptive immunity, my dear friends, if we still remember last time, is meron siyang memory and it is mediated by memory B cell. So when we say memory, okay, may memory siya, adoptive immunity has the ability to remember prior exposure. And upon subsequent exposure to that specific antigen, your immune response will greatly increase. Okay? So, there are two types of adoptive immunity. Okay? Dalawa po yung types ng adoptive immunity. Take note, meron tayong passive and active. And we have here passive natural, passive artificial. Meron ding active natural, and active artificial. Medyo nakakalito siya, no? kasi ang daming terms. So doon muna tayo sa pinakauna ha. Passive natural. Kung mapapansin natin, transfer of antibodies from the mother to fetus through the placenta. And this is what we call vertical transmission. Tandaan natin na, tingnan nyo na transfer magkakaroon daw or ang tawag daw is passive natural adaptive immunity if there is a transfer of antibodies. For example, from the mother, papunta dun sa fetus niya, okay, during pregnancy, through the placenta. And this is what we call vertical transmission. By its name, natural. Natural na nangyayari yon. Kasi during pregnancy, tandaan natin, the fetus is connected dun sa mommy niya via the placenta. Tama, di ba? The umbilical cord actually, tapos may placenta. Okay? So, next tayo, passive artificial injection of a specific preformed antibody to provide temporary immunity. Okay? By its name, example nito, artificial immunity. Pasulat, example, kapag you are injected with antitoxin. Okay? When you are injected with antitoxin, ang tawag dito, passive artificial adoptive immunity. Guys, ito lang yung kailangan nating tandaan Pag sinasabi kasi nating passive, okay, pag sinasabi nating passive, the person receives antibodies, okay, which is actually produced by another person or animal. Tandaan natin ang nare-receive ni antibody mismo ang nare-receive natin dito. Tama. Una tayo, passive natural, di ba? Na-receive ni fetus yung antibodies from the mother. That is called vertical transmission. That's passive natural adoptive immunity. Ang na-receive are antibodies. Passive artificial, bakit artificial? Kasi nagawa lang naman. Ginawa, pre-formed yung antibody, ginawa yung antibody. And example natin dito, antitoxin. When you are injected with antitoxin, okay, ano in-inject sa'yo? Antitoxin. It is an antibody. It is a preformed antibody. Alright? So, what about active? Pag sinabi naman nating active, okay, basahin natin ulit. Okay, pakibasa naman to, Miss Leyan de Ocampo. Active natural. Nakamute ka, te. Hello?
Hello,
Hi.
sir.
Yes.
Active natural
Okay, go.
is the production of antibodies by natural exposure to foreign antigens. Example given
Example given bacteria and plants. Thank you so much. Guys, sabi dito, active natural adaptive immunity, production of antibodies, wherein our body produce an antibody. Okay, our body produce an antibody by exposing ourselves to foreign antigens. Example, kapag dilagnat tayo, fever. Pag may fever tayo, okay, ibig sabihin nun, baka na-expose tayo to an antigen or to an toxic agent. Therefore, kapag na-expose tayo sa antigen, anong mangyayari? Our body will produce an antibody against that antigen. Okay? What about active artificial? Production of antibodies by injection. Okay? Injection of antigen. Kung kanina sa active natural exposure natin sa antigen. Ito naman sa artificial, production of antibodies by injection of antigen. Magbigay tayo ng example. Ano nga ba yung mga weekend antigen natin na ini-inject sa atin? Example, hepatitis vaccine. Hindi nyo ba alam na ini-inject sa atin, okay, na hepa vaccine, they are actually antigens, but they are weakened. Pinahina lang na antigen. So, anong mangyayari pag, di ba, kapag we are vaccinated, magproduce tayo ng immune response. Bakit? Ano yung pinaproduce natin? We produce an antibody against that antigen para sooner or later, we are already protected with that specific antigen. So guys, nakita niyo na ba yung difference natin? Sa passive, okay, dun sa passive natin, ano nangyayari? Ang nangyayari, the person receives antibody. Saan galing yung antibody? Yung antibody na yun produce sa ibang tao or galing sa animal. Pero sa active naman natin, my dear friends, tayo mismo ang nagproproduce ng antibody. Naintindihan ba? Press 2 kapag naintindihan yung ating passive and active. Boom! Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're done with the types of antibodies. Okay na? Okay. So, what are the cellular components again, okay, of our adoptive immunity? As we had discussed yesterday, sa natural immunity, the cellular components involved are your phagocytes, your macrophages, monocytes, your granulocytes, and including your natural killer cell, which is also, we noted that natural killer cell is the only lymphocyte na part ng natural immunity. By its name, natural killer cell. Okay? So, proceed tayo dito sa adoptive immunity. Sa adoptive immunity natin, my dear friends, cellular components, alam natin yan, your T cells and your B cells. And we also discussed yesterday na ang T cells, they are developed in the
Thymus.
very good. Developed in the thymus, and your B cells develop in the bone marrow.
Bone marrow.
T, very good. B for B. And guys, take note of, okay, take note of also the lifespan of T cells. Guys, anong sa inyo, sino yung long-lived and short-lived sa kanila? Sino yung short-lived dito? Hindi nyo pa alam. Okay, tandaan natin na ang T cells, okay, very good. Very good. Okay, sulat na natin na T cells, they are long-lived. Okay, ilang years sila nagtatagal ang T cells? Ha? 4 to 10 years, okay? Long-live ang T cells, 4 to 10 years. Buti pa ang T cells, ganun katagal. Umaabot ng years. Ha? Ano yun? Okay. And your B cells naman, they are short-lived, 3 to 4 days lang sila. Okay? So, dun tayo sa pangmatagalan, ha? Okay. Na-discuss din natin yesterday, and question ko pa kayo, okay? What are the end products of activation of each of the cells natin involved in the adaptive immunity? T cells, end product of activation?
Lymphokines or
Lymphocytes and
cytokines.
cytokines.
Okay, lymphokines or cytokines. Okay, your lymphokines or cytokines. Guys, na-discuss na ba to? Medyo masakit sa tenga. Pa-mute muna, guys. Yung masakit sa tenga. Guys, may pa-mute. Okay na. Okay, so yung end products of activation for T cells, lymphokines or cytokines, these are actually chemical messengers important sa ating immune regulation, ha? Yung mga yun. Pero sooner, mas pagtutuunan nyo yan ng pansin sa immunology, serology. Ito, pahapyaw muna, okay? Sa B cells naman, when B cells are activated, what are the end products? Okay, your antibodies. Okay, very good. Antibodies or
Immunoglobulins.
okay, antibodies or immunoglobulins. Very good. So, ano naman itong antigens? Pag sinabi nating antigens, guys, ano yung mga CD markers present? Pasulat nga dito sa antigens, pag malilito. CD markers, okay? What are the CD markers na makikita natin sa gilid-gilid na nakapalibot sa T cells at B cells? CD markers. Again, what is CD? That's your cluster of differentiation. Again, CD markers are detected via or through
Flow cytometry.
Very good. Okay. T cells, ano yung mga CD markers present sa kanya? Pasulat na lang CD2, CD3, CD4, and CD8. Tandaan, 4. CD2, CD3, CD4, CD8. Sa kay B cells naman, what are the CD markers for B cells? They are your CD10, pasulat, CD10, CD19, CD20, CD21, and CD40. CD10, 19, 20, 21, and CD40. And I just want you to take note, if you still remember, guys, sino kasing CD markers sa B cells yung tinaguri ang B-Cala antigen? Sino sa CD markers? Plus 2 sa quiz next week. Sino sa CD markers? Pa-type. Sino sa CD markers yung tinaguriang also known as the B common acute lymphoblastic leukemia antigen? Hoy, pa-type. Anong 3? Walang 3 ka. Nasa B cells tayo. Hard week. CD10, 19, 20, 21, 40. Paangwa ka ah? Sino?
10.
Very good. Sino yun? Uy,
Neil.
sino tong Neil Rabanal? Bakit ganun yung mukha? Akala ko ito.
Ay, sir, sorry.
Uy, bakit ganyan yung profile pic mo? Nagulat ako. Parang kilala ko yan. Parang yan yung nasa Tulfo ah.
Hindi ko napalitan, sir.
Oo eh. Okay. B Kala antigen or your B common acute B common acute lymphocytic leukemia. Okay? That's our CD10. May tanong pa ako sa inyo. Alam ko, napag-aralan niyo na rin to. Guys, sino na kasi yung sinong virus yung may receptor kay CD21? Kaya niya mag-attach kay CD21 ng B cells. Sinong virus? Sino yung Neil kanina, no?
Epstein-Barr virus.
Ay!
Hata.
Ang galing. Sino yon? Sino yon?
Neil, sir. Neil ulit.
Sino si Neil? Oy, Neil, mag-open ka nga ng camera mo. Sino ka? Hindi kita kilala. Oy, Neil.
Sir, computer
Asan
po
ka?
gamit po, sir.
Ayaw mo lang
Walang-
magpakita eh. Okay. Tampo na ako. Char. Sino na kasi yon? Si Neil Rabanan. Okay, very good. In your CD21, guys, kung naalala natin, 'di ba? Sa HEMA din 'yan, 'di ba? Meron siyang specific receptor, yung Epstein-Barr virus kay CD21. Kaya kung maalala natin, guys, when B cells are infected with Epstein-Barr virus, anong itsura nila? Mukha silang Downy cells. Naalala niyo ba si Downy cells? Okay. Basta take note na lang yun. Anong kinakos na disease ni Epstein-Barr virus? Infectious mononucleosis or what we call Kissing's disease. Okay. Okay, so nasaan na ba tayo? T cells are identified by eto lang ha, alam ko hindi niyo pa to alam. It is called T cell Rosette assay. Tawag doon, T cell Rosette assay. So, type ko. Papag-aralan niyo to sa sa IS. Okay, T cells are identified by T cell Rosette assay and B cells naman are identified through their what? They are identified through their surface immunoglobulins. Meron silang surface immunoglobulins. Okay, doon sa palibot ni B cells, meron tayong tinatawag na mga surface immunoglobulins. May mga nakatayo doon or parang nakalambitin sa kanya na immunoglobulins. Sino tong mga immunoglobulins na to? These are your IgM and IgD. Tandaan, yung IgM na naka-attach doon sa surface ni B cells, ang IgM na naka-attach doon are still immature, while yung mga IgD natin, matured na sila. Again, in IgM na naka-attach sa surface ni B cells, they are immature. Doon, si IgD naman is matured already. Okay? So, T cells are located in the, take note, paracortical region of the lymph nodes. Paracortical region of the lymph nodes, while B cells naman are located in the cortical region of lymph nodes. Okay? T cells, paracortical, B cells, cortical. Kung mapapansin din sa picture, okay, tingnan ninyo we have here the two types of lymphocyte. No, your T helper cells and your T cytotoxic cells. Kung mapapansin natin, guys, my dear friends, kung mapapansin niyo itong mga to, guys, ito yung mga CD markers nila. Okay? And sa B lymphocytes naman natin, my dear friends, kung mapapansin ninyo, dito, meron tayong mga surface immunoglobulins. Again, ano yung surface immunoglobulins natin? Surface immunoglobulins natin are your IgM and IgD. IgM, immature pa lang yung naka-attach doon. For IgM, IgD naman is mature already. Sige, isa-isahin natin. T cells. T cells represent approximately 80% of the circulating lymphocytes in the peripheral blood. So mas marami tayong T cells than that of the B cells. So most circulating T cells express the following CD markers. As I've mentioned kanina, merong CD2, CD3, and CD4. And CD8. Tandaan natin, kay CD2 natin, my dear friends, ito yung tinaguri ang sheep red blood cell receptor. Meron siyang, okay, kaya niya mag-attach siya sa sheep red blood cell. So, tinagurian siyang sheep red blood cell receptor. S-H-E-E-P. Sheep. Okay? Ano kasi nag-type dito? Okay. While your CD3 naman, my dear friends, this is also called T-cell antigen receptor. Ito yung tinaguri ang T-cell antigen receptor. And take note, CD3 was discovered, na-discover siya noong 1984. Ha, wag kakalimutan. 1984. Again, CD3 natin, this is your T-cell antigen receptor, and na-discover siya noong 1984. Ano naman kailangan tandaan kay CD4 at CD8? Okay, guys, as I discussed before, naalala nyo, there are two types of T cells, di ba? T cytotoxic and T helper cells. Guys, sino dito yung nag-e-express ng CD4 sa kanyang surface? T helper or T cytotoxic cells?
Helper.
CD
Helper.
Okay, very good. Your CD4, meron siyang kay T helper cell siya, while your CD8, T cytotoxic cells. Okay? All right. Okay. So yun nga, di ba nagbasa naman kayo ahead of time, sinabi ko sa inyo. Mamimili ako ngayon kung sino magdi-discuss sa akin ng T-cell development. Siyempre, yung mga hindi naka-open ang kamang pipiliin ko. Brandon Arzadon. Hi. Asan si Melanie?
Nasa baba po siya.
Okay.
Nagluluto po.
Ganun. Okay, can you please discuss to me the T-cell development? Paano na-develop ang T-cells natin?
Sir, sorry po, sir. Di ko po kabisado. Di ko po kabisado, sir.
Ay, bakit hindi mo kabisado? Ay, di ba pwede naman tayong kumain while, di ba, nagtuturo ako, tapos kayo nandun sa bahay, na? Okay. So, hindi alam ni si Victoria Adolfo. Hello? Victoria? Hello? Kaya siya? Ba't ganun? Abigail Adun? Hello? Huy, ano nangyari sa inyo, guys? Kunwari mahina net, di lang alam. Etong Ria Burigsay. Miss Ria.
Sir?
Ikaw. Sige.
Honestly, sir, hindi pa po ako nakakarating dyan part sa module. Sa handout lang po ako nagbasa dyan part sa adaptive.
Di ba nasa adaptive tayo?
I mean, yung mga pahapyaw lang po yung mga nabasa ko, sir. Sa init po ako medyo nag-focus sa mga antibodies po.
Saan ka nag-focus?
Sa init, ano po, sa natural immunity po, tsaka sa antibody. Kasi yun po yung lesson namin sa IS.
Ngayon. Akala ba hindi ba yung nagle-lesson sa IS?
Ibang teachers ako, sir.
Ay, sino teacher nyo? Sir Jack?
Sir Jack, sir.
Ay, fresh. Uy, kamusta naman si Sir Jack? Okay. So, ako na nga lang magdi-discuss pala. Hindi ka pala kayo nag-aano dito. Okay. So, in the T-cell development, guys, may stages tayo dito. Like for example, naalala niyo pa ba yung mga stages of development ng red blood cells natin? Generally, di ba, ng white blood cells. Ang T-cells meron din. How they start immunologically. Okay, ganito yung development ng T-cells. Nag-start siya as double negative thymocyte, susunod double positive thymocyte, magiging mature T-cell, magiging activated T-cell, at magiging sensitized T-cell. Okay, mag-start tayo dun sa double negative thymocyte. Anong nangyayari sa double negative thymocytes? Tandaan natin, sa double negative thymocytes, ang CD markers pa lang na meron sila are CD2, CD5, and CD7. Wala pa silang CD4 and CD8. Okay? Next naman tayo. After that, magiging double positive thymocyte sila by its name, double positive thymocyte. Meron na silang, okay? Meron silang CD2, meron silang CD5, meron silang CD7, and meron sila ng both, okay? Meron silang both CD4 and CD8. Okay? Kapag nag-mature na sila, pipili na sila kung anong magiging kung ano yung pipiliin nila. It's either CD4 or CD8. Nagigets ba? From double positive thymocyte, they express both CD4 and CD8. When they mature, they are either CD4 positive or CD8 positive. Mamimili na lang sila kung CD4 or CD8. Sorry. Okay, na-gets ba yun? Next tayo. Paano naman natin sasabihin na ang T-cells, okay, yung T-cells natin, they are activated T-cells. Okay? When mature, tandaan natin na, activated ang T-cell when a mature T-cell encounters an antigen. Nakabangga na siya, okay? Or may kalaban na siyang antigen. That is what we call activated T-cell. Ano yung naalala nyo sa akin last time? Ano yung naalala nyo sa akin last time na kapag ang T-cells, they are activated, they release what? Lymphokines or cytokines. Tandaan natin yun, ha? Okay, very good. Tandaan din natin, doon sa activated T-cells natin, okay, a mature T-cell already encountered an antigen, di ba? Ang activated T-cell, meron din silang, magkakaroon na sila ng CD25. Okay, meron na silang CD25. Ngayon, itong CD25 na to, ang activated T-cell, they express already CD25. Ang mangyayari dyan, si interleukin 2. Okay, tandaan yon. Si interleukin 2, IL-2, mag-a-attach sa CD25, and that will cause now yung proliferation ng T-cells natin. Dadami na ngayon yung T-cells natin. Intindihan? Ano nangyayari sa activated T-cell? Ang activated T-cell, kapag nakapag-encounter siya ng antigen. Ano pa nangyayari? Meron siyang CD25 wherein si interleukin 2 mag-a-attach dun sa CD25, therefore mag-enhance yung proliferation ni T-cell. And lastly, pag sinabi cell, ang tawag sa T-cell is sensitized kapag kaya niya nang mag-secrete or mag-produce ng lymphokines or cytokines. Lymphokines or cytokines are actually chemical messengers kung naaalala natin. Naintindihan ba yon? Press 4. Kung naiintindihan. Very good. Guys, okay lang kumakain ako, ngumunguya ako. Wala pa akong dinner eh. Is it fine? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Kung nagugutom kayo, bili lang kayo ng food dyan. Or you can eat whatever you want. For sure, this Valentine's, marami kayong kakainin.
Yes, sir.
Diba? Ano ba yun? Tawa tuloy ako. Ayun! Masyado kayong seryoso, ha? Lamig dito ang aircon ko. Ay! Yung background ko pala Christmas. Bakit ganon? Ngayon ko lang napansin. Okay. Let's proceed with B cells. O sino dito yung nakakaalam ng B cells naman? Mamili ulit tayo. +5. Okay? Nakakatawa kayo biglang nag-off ng camera. Uy, si Mark Ginoban. Mark Ginoban, idol. Kumusta? Mark! Asan si Mark? Ayun, si Kathleen Teka lang, Kathleen Semon, ikaw yung taga Baguio, Sagada. Tama? Tama ba?
Yes, sir.
Uy, andyan ka ngayon? Andyan ka ngayon?
No, sir.
Ay, nasa Tugigaraw ka?
Opo.
Nasa La Union kasi ako tomorrow, tapos pupunta kami sa Sagada. Sayang. Ala ko andyan ka. Anyway, yun lang. Oy, si Mark Ginoban. Oh, thank you, Kathleen. Mark, hi. Alam ko nag-aral ka na mabuti for this at pinaghandaan mo to. So, can you please discuss to me the B cell development?
Sir, sorry po, hindi ko po nabasa pa yan, sir. Inulit ko yung discussion mo, sir.
Ay, ang galing. O sige nga, i-discuss mo ulit yung discussion ko kahapon. Sige na. Nagaling ka naman eh.
Sir, hindi po. Hindi ko talaga alam, sir. Sorry po. Basta na lang po next time.
Hindi mo alam. Hindi niyo pa alam to.
Sir?
No, sir.
Yes? Yes?
Sir, subok po, sir.
Ay, sino yan?
Nolan Manawis, sir.
Yes, Nolan.
Okay. Sir,
Uy, kapatid mo si ano? Si
Nisan po.
Asan si Nisan?
Yes, sir. Nandito, sir. Tawagin ko ba, sir?
Hindi na. Hindi na.
Sige, sir.
Yung papa mo na lang
Sige,
tawagin
sir.
mo. Sir. Uy, ang payat. Uy, ang payat mo na din, Nolan.
Yes, sir.
Nag-IF ka?
Anong IF, sir?
Intermittent fasting.
Hindi po, sir. OMAD, sir. 1 meal a day po, sir.
Ay, OMAD ang tawag doon.
Yes, sir.
Anong
Yes,
meal
sir.
mo?
Walang rice, sir. Pure protein po, sir.
Ay, parang gusto ko yung pure protein. Anong kinakain mo pag pure protein?
Lean meat, sir. Chicken po mostly, tapos tofu. Yun na po yung substitute ko sa rice, sir. Tofu po.
Tofu. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Kasi ako dati, di ba mataba rin ako dati, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Tapos yun, hindi nyo alam na mataba ako dati. Same lang ba? So pumayat na ako. Dati 99.5 ako eh. 79 na lang ako ngayon. Sige, try mo, Nolan.
Yes, sir. Bali, sir, sir, ano lang to, hula lang, sir. Bali po, yung pro B cell po, sir, ang pagkakaalam ko po dyan is stem cell po siya dati, sir. Tapos ang characteristic factor po nila is meron po silang terminal deoxynucleotidyl transferase, sir. Then pagkarating po sa pre-B cell na, sir, meron na pong immunoglobulin gene arrangement tsaka appearance po ng heavy chains. Tapos pagkarating po na sa immature B cell, sir, yung light chain genes po is rearranged, then yung light chains is mag-a-appear po dun sa cell cytoplasm. Then dun po sa
Go.
Then dun po sa mature B cell, sir, nag-exhibit na po siya ng IgD, sir. So both yung IgM at IgD present na, sir. Tapos ang activated B cell, sir, is parang katulad din po siya ng activated T cell, sir, na meron na rin pong CD25, sir.
Okay, tapos?
Which is a receptor po ng IL-2. Then, magkakaroon na po ng activated B cell na po na, sir. Then, magdi-differentiate po yung activate B cell into a plasma cell, sir, which is yung plasma cells po, sir, is nagpo-produce na po ng ating antibodies or immunoglobulins.
Ay, ang galing naman ni Nolan. Plus 5.
Thank you,
Hindi pa pala
sir.
sa plus 5. Kulang pa. Saan
Ay, kulang,
nangyari
sir.
yung chromosomal arrangement? Nabanggit mo kanina, there are what we call chromosomal
Yes, sir.
arrangements for light chain and heavy chains. Anong
Yes, sir.
chromosome for heavy chain? Sige nga. What chromosome number?
Hindi ko
Ay,
sure,
hindi mo
sir.
pa alam. Okay na yun.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Who's that?
Sir,
Yes.
yung heavy chain po, sir, sa ano po siya, chromosome 14 po. Tapos
Okay.
light chains po is chromosome 2 and 22.
Ay, ang galing. Sino yon? Joanna Sales. Oh, Nolan and Joanna, payag ba kayo na tag 2.5 ninyo?
Yes, sir. Okay lang po, sir.
Ay, parang ayaw ni Nolan. Nolan
Sir,
De Castro.
okay lang, sir. Grabe.
Ay, okay
lang po, sir.
lang.
Okay lang po, yes, sir.
Talaga? Uy, ang payat
Sir,
mo na.
ano na lang din, sir, parang dagdagan ko na lang, sir, yung sinabi niya, sir, para fair.
Ay. O sige, Joanna, pwede ba open na rin yung cam mo para makita ko kayong dalawa? Check ko kung bagay kayo.
Ay, sir, kaibigan.
Ay, kaibigan mo. Oy,
Tropa lang yan,
lahat. Tropa o trauma? Oh, dali, Joanna.
Sir, sa pro B cell, sir, ito lang sabi niya kanina, nag-start siya as a, ano yun, doon pa lang siya mag-start na mag-differentiate, sir. Tapos,
Of course.
sa magmamanifest, or meron tayo ngayon nabanggit kanina na TCR, or yung mga doon makikita, or paano ba yun? Basta yung mga heavy chains, ganyan, and the light chains, magkakaroon ng rearrangement and differentiation of free B cells into free B cells occur upon successful rearrangement of heavy chains, sir. So magiging free B cell lang yung pro B cell kapag magkaroon ng rearrangement ng heavy chains. Kapag walang rearrangement ng heavy chains, sir, magre-result siya into apoptosis, sir. Mamamatay lang yung pro B cell. And then sa free B cell naman, sir, meron din yung tinatawag na surrogate light chain, sir. Ito na yung meron yung accumulation ng immunoglobulin M, and then sa cytoplasm, and
That's in pre-B cell? Are you talking with pre-B cell?
yes, sir, pre-B cell
Okay,
na po.
continue.
Yes, sir. Tapos yung magkakasama na dito yung two short chains ng IG alpha and IG beta na nag-transfuse ng signal, sir. Tapos the combination of two heavy chains along with the IG alpha and B, sir, and the free B cell receptor, yun, sir, magkakasama na yung tatlo na yun, sir. And kapag daw yung
Ba't ka kinakabahan? Bakit ka kinakabahan? Papaluin ba kita? Oh, tuloy mo.
Kapag daw ay yung free B cell, sir, express the mu heavy chains, its association with surrogate light chains survive, it will proceed further differentiation, sir. So kapag lang daw may association na maganap between the light chains and the heavy chains, sir, dun mag-proceed na siya sa magiging immature B cells, sir.
Okay.
Sa immature B cells naman, sir, ulit magkakaroon ng rearrangement of genetic sequence coding for light chains on either chromosome 2 or 22. Tapos, completion of light chains rearrangement commits a cell to produce an antibody molecule, sir. Ayun. And then, sorry lang. Then, sir, kapag meron na daw, there is evidence that self-antigens give a negative signal to immature B cells. Yung immature B cells daw, sir, na tightly band sa self-antigens to cross-linking surface. ng IgM molecules receive a signal to help the development. Kasi sir, parang dito kasi sir, sa may immature sir, parang dito nagde-develop ng mga self-antigens para daw hindi atakihin ni B cell yung self-antigen sir, is papatayin or parang i-halt yung production ng B cell sir. Tapos kapag oh my God, ma-halt yun, and then many B cells are capable of producing antibodies to self-antigens are deleted from the marrow by the process of apoptosis. Tapos yung elimination of B cells, sir, that bear the self-reactive receptors is known as central tolerance. Then after nun, sir, magkakaroon ng mature B cells known as either marginal zone B cells or follicular B cells. Yun, sir. Tapos meron na din yung sabi dito kasi sir is, dun sa nabasa ko sir, is IgD is not required for the B cell function. Di ba sir, nabanggit ni Nolan kanina na may IgD na sir. Pero hindi, sabi kasi dun sa ano sir, is hindi daw kailangan si IgD as dun sa function ni B cell. Instead, siya lang yung parang magpapa-prolong nung life ni mature B cell. Sir, para maging ano na yun, mag-differentiate pa siya further into plasma cells. So, hanggang doon na lang.
Okay, so, okay lang. Naintindihan mo ba yung sinabi mo?
Ang hirap kasing parang...
pero I have a question sa'yo. What's the significance, therefore, of rearrangement of in chromosome 9, in chromosome 2 and 22 for light chains and heavy chains? Ano importance ng light chains and heavy chains, therefore?
Sir, parang yung rearrange in order kasi na mag-proceed siya sa next level, sir. Yung,
ano yung light chain, heavy chain? Asan yan? Bakit sila nababanggit?
Sir, naka-attach siya dun sa ano tawag dyan? Sa B cell, sir. Parang ganun. Wait lang, sir.
Okay. All right. So, thank you so much, Nolan and Joanna. All your inputs are correct. Okay? Pero let's discuss it in a simpler way. Okay? So, follow me. Very good. Okay? Thank you so much, Joanna, Sales, and Nolan. Joy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you po.
All right. So, let's start with the pro-B cell. So, the first stage for B cell development is pro-B cell. So, my dear friends, in pro-B cell, a pro-B cell now expresses two CD markers present on their surfaces. That's your CD19 and CD45. Pasulat. Okay, that's your CD19 and CD45. And then, ano pang nangyayari sa pro-B cell? Okay, sa pro-B cell, there will be a chromosomal rearrangement of genes, or there will be a rearrangement of genes on chromosome 14. On chromosome 14, coding for the heavy chain. Guys, itong sinasabi kong chains ito, heavy chains and light chains, itong dalawang to, they are important in the structure of immunoglobulin. Bakit kailangan sila? Tandaan natin sa end stage or the end product of activation for B cells, they should produce or secrete an antibody or what we call immunoglobulin. Again, there will be a chromosomal rearrangement of genes on chromosome 14, coding for heavy chain. That's on pro-B cell. Let's proceed with pre-B cell. Ano naman nangyayari sa pre-B cell? Sa pre-B cell, my dear friends, okay, meron pa rin silang CD19 and CD45 as CD markers. And what happens in pre-B cell, there will be a rearrangement of genes naman on chromosome number 2. Okay? Chromosome number 2, coding for kappa light chain and lambda light chain. Ulitin ko sa pre-B cell, there will be a rearrangement of genes on chromosome 2. Sa chromosome 2, ang naaayos doon is your kappa light chains. Kappa. KAPPA. While on chromosome 22, okay, that's your lambda light chain. Lambda. Okay, wait lang ha. Lambda light chain. Teka lang guys ha. May ano lang ako. Guys, bladder break muna kayo. Thank you. 3 minutes. Kagalat?
IS po. Yes.
Oo nga eh. Bakit ganun? Teka lang. Wait lang ha, may pinapasend lang sila. Ayan, game na. Guys, pa-unmute na lang, pa-mute muna. Okay, we're done with pre-B cell. There will be a rearrangement of genes on chromosome 2 coding for, sana tayo? Kappa light chains and chromosome 22 coding for, 22 coding for lambda light chains. Okay? So kung tatandaan niyo, alam ko hindi niyo pa naiintindihan to, pero guys, yung again, sinabi ko sa inyo kanina ha, yung mga light chains and heavy chains natin, they are important sa structure ng immunoglobulin. So kung tatanungin ninyo ako, sinong mas marami sa structure ng isang immunoglobulin? Kappa or lambda light chain? Mas marami ang kappa light chain. About 65% ng structure ng immunoglobulin is kappa and about 35% lang ng lambda light chain. Okay, let's proceed with immature B cell. So sa immature B cell, guys, okay, ito naman na yung ine-express niya na CD marker. CD21 and CD35. CD21 and CD35. Therefore, dito sa part ng immature B cell, meron na siyang heavy chain and light chain. Heavy chains and light chains are already present. At tatandaan din natin na guys, sa immature B cell, dito unang lumilitaw. This is the first appearance of what we call surface immunoglobulin M or IgM. First appearance of IgM. Okay, naintindihan ba yun? Let's proceed. Sa mature B cell natin, again, mature B cell naman natin, they are nag-express na sila ngayon pa ulit ng CD21 and CD35. Ngayon, present na rin ulit yung heavy chain, meron na ring light chain, at meron na ring surface immunoglobulin M. Ngayon, dito sa mature B cell, my dear friends, this is the first appearance of surface immunoglobulin D. Tatandaan natin guys ulitin ko saan una nag-a-appear si surface IgM? Sa immature B cell. Saan una nag-a-appear si mature B cell? Si immunoglobulin D sa mature B cell. Naintindihan ba? Let's proceed. Ang tawag naman sa B cell kapag activated is activated B cell when a mature B cell, same lang din kay T cell. When a mature B cell, okay, naka-encounter na siya ng antigen, ang tawag doon is activated B cell. Ano pa yung kailangan tandaan kay activated B cell? Kapag activated na siya, meron na siyang anong CD marker? Meron siyang CD25. And take note, CD25 is the what? The receptor for interleukin 2. Therefore, kapag nag-attach na yan, si interleukin 2 at si CD25, ma-enhance therefore yung proliferation ng B cells natin. And lastly, ang plasma cells natin. Sa plasma cells natin, guys, meron na siyang cytoplasmic immunoglobulins ready for secretion or production. Therefore, si plasma cell na ang magproproduce ngayon ng immunoglobulins or antibodies. Naintindihan ba? Anong may antibodies yan, sir? Ano yun? Ay, kanina pa ba yun? Sorry. Guys, naintindihan ba? Press 4. Pag naintindihan. So, puro ano to, no? Puro sections D, tama? No, D. And may A ng konti. Or halo-halo. Mas maraming D.
May C din, sir. Madami rin kaming C.
Marami.
Bakit C ba talaga ngayon?
Opo, sir. C at saka A po yung sabi niyo.
Ay, minute na ba kayo ni Ma'am Josan? C and D? Minute na ba kayo ni Ma'am Josan sa lab nyo? Hindi pa.
Di pa, sir. Ano lang kami, sir? Messenger group.
Ay, social. Okay.
Hindi pa po.
Kailan nyo daw kayo imi-meet? Oo. Okay. Hirap pala talaga ng ng online class talaga. Ang ganda ni Vernice. Vernice Claveria. Taga saan ka? Taga Isabela ka ba, Vernice?
Sir, Kawayan City po.
Okay. Uy, maraming dyan, positive. Maraming cases dyan. Hindi naman.
Yes, sir.
Actually,
Sir, marami,
guys.
sir. Ayaw kasi.
Kamusta naman dito sa Manila, 'di ba? Sa Manila kasi, Diyos ko, sobrang dami dito, guys, kung alam nyo lang. Pero, alam mo yun, parang wala, normal na lang. I mean, basta mag-ingat ka na lang, palakasan na lang ng immune system. Kasi hindi sila mabubuhay ng, syempre, alangan sa bahay lang sila. They should work. Okay, so what? Next, let's proceed with antigen-presenting cells. So, nasa cellular components pa rin tayo ng adoptive immunity, ha? Let's proceed. Antigen-presenting cells, they phagocytose and process and present the antigen to T cells through MHC molecules. Guys, ito lang. Di ba nabanggit ko na kahapon yung MHC natin or Major Histocompatibility Complex? Okay? Major Histocompatibility Complex. Ang antigen-presenting cells kasi natin, sila yung nagpe-present ng antigen doon sa T cells through MHC molecules. So parang bridge ang MHC molecules natin. Hindi mapapansin ni T cells ang antigens natin or hindi niya aatakihin or it will not attack your antigens kapag walang MHC molecules. Naintindihan ba yon? Para siyang bridge, okay? So okay, ito na nga. Sino yung most effective and most potent na antigen-presenting cell? As I've discussed yesterday, that's your dendritic cells. Examples, macrophages, monocytes, dendritic cells, including B cells din pala, antigen-presenting cell din pala siya. Okay? Let's proceed. What are the humoral components of our adoptive immunity? Ito na nga, si cytokines or lymphokines. Okay? Yung sinabi natin last time, cytokines or lymphokines, these are the end products ng activation ng T cells natin. So the term cytokines and growth factor are often used synonymously. Cytokines includes, marami ang cytokines natin, guys, ha. It includes interleukins, lymphokines, your monokines, interferons, chemokines, and colony-stimulating factors. These are diverse group of soluble proteins that have direct and indirect effects on hematopoietic cells. They are actually glycoproteins that stimulate the proliferation of progenitor and precursor cells and promote cell differentiation and maturation with specific lineages. These are actually important sa hema, di ba? They are produced by stromal cells of the bone marrow. So what are interleukins? So a group of scientists began calling some of the cytokines interleukins, numbering them in the order with which they were identified. Example, interleukin 1, 2, and so on and so forth. Guys, sa IS nyo to papag-aralan. Lahat ng interleukins i-memorize ninyo. Kung sino nagpo-produce ng interleukin 1, ano yung function niya. Okay, hanggang 30 plus ata to. I don't know, 28 or 32. Not sure. So, yun, marami siya. Pero dito, gusto ko lang malaman nyo yung definition ng interleukin. So, baba na tayo agad. So, what are the characteristics shared by by different interleukins? They are proteins that exhibit multiple biologic activities such as the regulation of autoimmune and inflammatory reactions and hematopoiesis. They have synergistic interactions with other cytokines, and they are part of interacting systems with amplification potential. They are effective at very low concentrations. Okay, so we're done with cytokines or lymphokines. Let's proceed with antibodies or immunoglobulins, which we call, which we discussed before na end products na activation ng B cells natin. So, antibodies, ano ba yung composition ng antibodies natin? They are actually composed of apat na polypeptide chains joined by disulfide bonds. Okay, they are composed of 4 polypeptide chains. Ano itong mga chains na to? Ito na yung heavy chain and light chain na sinasabi ko kanina. Okay? So, and these chains are joined by disulfide bonds. So antibodies or immunoglobulins are substances produced in response to antigenic stimulation that are capable of specific interaction with provoking immunogen. So tamang-tama, when we are exposed to an antigen, our body will react or respond by producing an antibody against that specific antigen. Usually, antibodies are present in the plasma only when corresponding antigen is not present in individuals' antigenic makeup. So what is paratope? Kung mapapansin natin dito, my dear friends, paratope. Ano ba ang paratope? So, guys, dito, gusto ko nang i-discuss sa inyo. Ano natin yung paint? Sorry, wala kasi akong Nakikita nyo ba to? Wala. Hello? Nakikita nyo na ba tong paint?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Ay. Naintindihan nyo ba to? Okay, guys, ganito yung itsura ng ating immunoglobulin. Guys, familiar naman na kayo sa antibody or immunoglobulin structure? First time makakita ng ganitong structure or hindi? Yes or no? Hoy.
No, sir.
Ha? So nakakita na kayo. Pangit lang to pero okay naman, no? Ayan.
Yes,
Ang
sir.
pangit. Ano ba yan? Okay na yan. So this is an example of immunoglobulin. So kung mapapansin natin kanina, ano yung diniscuss ko kanina? Paratope. Ano ba ang paratope? What is paratope? Sige, anyone, you can type it. Paratope is also known as what?
Sir, antigen binding site.
Very good. Or what we call antibody determinant. Okay, tandaan. Your paratope is also known as the antigen binding site or what we call antibody determinant. Nakakalito, no? Ano antibody determinant? Uy, antigen binding site. Doon pa lang sa pangalan na yun, my dear friends, this is where your antigen binds. Tanong ko sa inyo, saan dito, erase ko lang ang pangit, no? Teka lang. Ay. Paano mag-erase? Ay, ang pangit naman ito. Ang liit. Paano ba palakihin to? Pasensya na guys, hindi ako techie. Ulitin ko na lang. Nakikita niyo ba?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anongin ko na lang para... Ayan. Okay. So guys, saan dito yung paratope? Sige nga, saan dyan yung paratope? Hello?
Sir,
Okay.
yung sa pinakamahabang...
Eto guys, eto yung paratope natin. Ha? This is your... Okay, very good. This is your paratope. This is where your antigen binds. Okay? This is where your antigen binds. This is your paratope. Okay? This is your antigen binding site or what we call antibody determinant. Very good. Okay, mamaya tayo babalik dyan. Balik tayo dun sa lecture natin ha. Basta alam nyo na ang paratope. Okay. So what are examples of antibodies? Meron tayong tinatawag na heterophile antibodies. These are antibodies made in response to antigens to another species. Tandaan, to another species. When we say alloantibodies naman, these are antibodies produced by an individual in response to antigens from another of the same species. Kung yung una heterophile, another species, ito, same species. And when we call autoantibodies naman, ang antibodies which is actually fortunately rare, that are made by an individual and react with his own sariling antigen. Kaya nagproproduce sila ng autoantibody. So tandaan yun, hetero, allo, and auto. Yung mga terminologies na yun. Okay? So what are the general functions of antibodies? Marami. They neutralize toxic substances. They also facilitate phagocytosis and they also kill microbes. Combined with antigens on cellular surfaces and thereby cause the destruction of these cells either extravascularly outside of the blood vessels within the mononuclear phagocyte system or intravascularly within the blood vessels through the action of complement. Okay? Let's proceed. Actions of antibodies. So, ano yung mga actions nila? Neutralization, agglutination, precipitation. Ito yung mga binding of antigen, binding site of an antibody with antigen causes. Tandaan, when ang gulo-gulo nung sinabi dyan, di ba? When an antigen binds with an antibody, pwedeng mangyari ang neutralization, agglutination, and precipitation. So yun na lang muna tandaan nyo guys, okay? Alam ko naguguluhan pa kayo ngayon kasi wala pa kayong background sa IS, ano na sa serology. Tandaan ninyo, when an antigen and antibody binds, ano yung mga 3 possible reactions na pwede natin makita? Pwedeng magkaroon ng neutralization, agglutination, or precipitation. Next naman, exposed FC portion following the antigen binding by antibody promotes complement fixation, opsonization, and activation of natural killer cells. Okay, balik tayo dun kanina. Nabanggit dito yung FC portion. So, balik tayo dito, guys. Dun sa sinabi ko kanina. Guys, ano tong color pink? Paratope. Ngayon, babanggitin ko na sa inyo yung FC and Fab portion. What are FC and Fab portion? So, okay guys ha, this is what we call your FC portion. Pag sinabi nating FC portion, ito yung tinatawag nating fragment crystallizable portion of what? Of the immunoglobulin. And guys, kung meron tayong FC portion, dapat meron din tayong Fab portion. And there are 2 Fab portions sa isang immunoglobulin. And itong portion na to, these are considered or what we call your Fab. Anong ibig sabihin ng Fab? This is what we call your fragment antigen binding or antigen binding fragment. Pareho lang yun. Fragment antigen binding or antigen binding fragment. Tama, kasi nandito si paratope. Again, nasaan si paratope? Nasa Fab. Ano na kasi si paratope? This is where your antigen binds or what we call your antigen binding site or what we call your antibody determinant. So tatlo na yung terminologies na nalaman ninyo, your paratope, your Fab, and your FC. Again, dalawa ang Fab dito, isa naman ang FC portion dito. Okay, nakita nyo, dalawa ang Fab, isa ang FC. Pero tatandaan ninyo guys, we have 5 immunoglobulins. Yung 5 immunoglobulins na yon, iisa-isahin pa natin yon. Depende sa structure nila kasi may pentameric na immunoglobulin, may monomeric, may dimeric na immunoglobulin. Ha? Pero mas pag-uusapan nyo na yan sa IS. Okay. Let's proceed. Balik tayo doon sa lecture ko. Sabi dito, the exposed FC portion following antigen binding with an antibody promotes. Ano pang pwedeng mangyari kapag nagkakaroon doon ng antigen and antibody binding site? Anong nangyayari doon sa FC portion? Naalala nyo ba sa complement pathway natin dati, saan nag-a-attach si complement, si letter C, sa baba ng antibody? Tandaan, ang complement proteins natin, dun sila nag-a-attach sa saan? Sa FC portion. Diba? Again, kailan lang napopromote or na-activate ang classical complement pathway kapag merong IgM or IgG. Tingnan ninyo dito guys ha, kung mapapansin ninyo my dear friends, meron tayong antibody dito at meron tayong bacteria. Uy, may antigen. And may antibody na reaction. Uy, may reaction. Therefore, pwedeng mag-attach ngayon si complement dito sa FC portion. Ngayon, pwede nang ma-activate si complement. Starting from, ano yung sa classical complement pathway natin? Nag-start sa C1, C4, C2, C3, 5, 6, 7, leading to cell lysis. Naalala ba? Yes, naaalala. Ako yung sumagot, no? Okay, what about opsonization? So opsonization naman natin, naalala, narinig na natin si opsonization, di ba? Saan na kasi si opsonization? Sa part ng ano? Hello? Saan na si opsonization? Ano?
Siya yung nagko-quote nung...
Oo, tama. Na-discuss natin yung kahapon, di ba? Very good. The FC region of antibody binds to receptors of phagocytic cells, triggering, ayan, mas nati-trigger ngayon yung phagocytosis natin. Ha? Nandiyan naman nag-a-attach din. Sa FC portion din nag-a-attach ang phagocytes natin. And guys, activation of natural killer cells. Kapag meron daw antigen and antibody, pwede rin itong mag-promote ng activation ng natural killer cells. Naalala nyo ba yung nire-release na substances ni natural killer cells? They are your granzymes and perforins, 'di ba? Therefore, they have meron sa natural killer cells, meron silang anti-viral activity and they can also kill tumor cells via apoptotic cell death or what we call apoptosis or what we call programmed cell death. Naalala? Yes, naaalala. Ayan, dyan na yung mga basahin nyo to. Okay, let's proceed. So what are the different properties of immunoglobulins? So we have 5 main immunoglobulins, my dear friends. So they are your GAMDE, diba? IgG, IgM, IgA, IgD, and IgE. Uy, may table. Aaralin ba to? Oo, aaralin yan. Lahat yan aaralin. Teka lang. Guys, bladder break. May kailangan lang akong kausapin. Bladder break muna. Pasensya na. Ay, nako. Ayun. So, wala lang. Amazing, guys. Kasi akala ko kasi hindi ko makakaya na after work, I can na magdi-discuss pa ako, ganun. Tapos kaya ko naman pala, no? So, kahit di na tayo mag-weekend. Kasi nasayangan din naman ako sa weekend ko kasi that's my time to rest naman na, 'di ba? Kung mapapagod ka man lang, edi sagarin mo na, 'di ba? So, mas okay na ganito. So, I'm happy naman na kaya ko pa naman, right? So, kakaloka kasi kung binigay ni Dean 4 sections. Sabi niya, isang section lang. Kaya niyo pa, guys? Hello? Buhay pa ba kayo? Buhay pa kayo? Amen? Amen. Type amen.
Buhay
Type
pa po.
amen. Type amen. Okay. Sige na. Ito na lang yung nagpapasaya sa akin. Wow! Alam mo naman. Kasi tomorrow, pupunta kami ng La Union. My gosh. Of course. Diba? Let's treat ourselves. Mag-ano tayo? Maglalasing. Hoy, ano ba yun? Ang sakit. May naririnig ako nag-echo. Okay na. Ito na. The properties ng ating 5 immunoglobulins. Let's start with IgG. Guys, ano ba ang IgG? Monomeric, dimeric, pentameric? It is monomeric. Ang IgM, guys, siya yung pinakamalaki. Siya ay pentameric. Okay? Siya ay pentameric. Pero, tandaan natin, guys, ito pala. Ang IgM natin, there are two structures of IgM. Ang IgM natin, monomeric kapag nasa surface siya ng B cells. Pero ang IgM, pentameric kapag present na siya sa plasma natin or serum. Okay? Kapag present na siya sa plasma or serum natin, pentameric na siya. Tandaan yon. IgM or monomeric, okay? Kapag nasa surface pa lang siya ng B cell. Kapag ang IgM nasa serum or plasma, pentameric na yung structure niya. Let's proceed. Ang IgA naman natin, dalawa din yung structures niyan. Monomeric naman siya kapag nasa serum or plasma siya. Okay? Monomeric siya kapag nasa serum or plasma siya. Pero dimeric naman siya. Okay, dalawa. Dimeric naman siya kapag present na siya sa secretions. Okay? Diyos ko, nakakalimutan. Feeling ko Ang dami-dami na, no? Ang dami yung kailangang tandaan. Pero these are all important. And lastly, IgD and IgE, they are both monomeric. O kung mapapansin natin, the percentage ng sinong pinakamarami, IgG pa rin guys ang pinakamarami. Okay, pinakamalaki, IgM. IgG about 70 to 70%. 75%, IgM only 10%, IgA 10 to 15%, IgD less than 1%, IgE pinakakonte, okay, list 0.002%. Molecular weight measured in Daltons. Sinong pinakamalaki? Siyempre, yung pentameric, 900, okay? 150 naman si IgG, 160 si IgA, IgD 180, IgA 190. Their sedimentation coefficient, which is measured in Svedberg. Guys, ito muna yung tandaan ninyo. Papag-aralan nyo naman to soon sa IS ninyo. Sedimentation coefficient of IgG 7S, IgM 19S, 7S naman ng IgA, IgD 7S, IgE naman is 8S. And serum half-life in days, sinong pinakamatagal? IgG, 23 days. IgM, 6 days. IgA, 5. IgD, 1 to 3. IgE, 2 to 3. O may tanong ako sa inyo. Sino ang kayang mag-fix ng complement dito sa mga immunoglobulins natin? Sige nga, type.
IgG and
Guys, naalala nyo ba yung classical and alternative pathway natin? Naalala nyo ba? Ano yung mga requirement doon para ma-activate ang complement? Ito yung tinatawag natin complement fixation. Kulang. Sa alternative, ayun, very good. It's GMA or GAM. Naalala nyo, start tayo. IgG. Lahat ba ng IgG kayang mag-fix ng complement? Again, ito pala tanong ko. Anong complement pathway ang finifix ni IgG? Classical or alternative or MBL? Very good. It's classical. Pasulat. Yes, classical. Lahat ba ng IgG? Guys, may 4 types ng IgG kasi. Mamaya di-discuss natin. Pero ngayon pa lang gusto ko nang alamin ninyo. Meron tayong IgG 1, 2, 3, at 4. Lahat ba ng IgG kaya mag-fix ng complement? No. Again, pasulat. Except, all IgG can fix complement except IgG what? 4. Very good. It's IgG 4. All IgG can fix complement except IgG 4. Very good. IgM, guys. Lahat ba ng... Yeah. Oo. IgM. Isa lang naman ang IgM. Guys, it fixes what? Ano yung ina-activate niyang complement pathway? Again, it's classical pathway. Nasa IgM tayo. Next, IgA. Anong finifix niyang complement pathway? Is it still classical? No. The alternative or what we call your proper din pathway. Very good. Yung IgD and IgE, X nyo yan. Hindi sila nagpe-fix ng complement. May tanong pa ako sa inyo. Sinong immunoglobulin ang kayang mag-cross ng placenta?
IgG.
Ano? IgG. Lahat ba ng IgG kayang mag-cross ng placenta? Yes or no? Very good, Ria. All IgG can fix all IgG can cross placenta except IgG2. Hindi siya kayang mag-cross ng placenta. And another question, balik tayo. Guys, anong type na kasi ng adoptive immunity kapag a fetus receives an antibodies or immunoglobulin from the mother or what we call vertical transmissions?
Passive
That's what you call
natural.
Passive natural.
Very good. Very good. It's passive natural. Shit, ang galing yun na. Pwede na
Passive
kayo
natural.
Oo, delayed ka, girl. Katawa naman, delayed, no? Okay lang, natutuwa ka sa mga ganyan. Diba? Napaka diverse, diba? O, alam niyo na to. Sorry. Okay nga, ano yung kailangan tandaan natin sa IgG? First, true or false? Longest half-life. IgG, true or false? Okay, very good. True, pasulat. Longest half-life. Diyan sa naka-underline. Yun yung mga kailangan tandaan. Ano pa? Highest percentage. IgG, true or false? True. Okay? Crosses placenta, true or false? True, except what? IgG what? 2. Okay? Very good. Next, i-correlate na natin sa blood bank. Guys, marami tayong maririnig sa blood bank na IgG. IgG, IgM, IgG, IgM, IgG, IgM. Okay, anong kailangang tandaan sa IgG? Tandaan, IgG versus IgM. Si IgG, it is a warm reactive antibody. Nakasulat dito, reactive siya at 37 degrees Celsius. Therefore, pasulat din, katabi ng warm reactive antibody, therefore, IgGR, pumiyok ako. Clinically significant antibodies. Again, the warm reactive antibody ang IgG and they are considered clinically significant. And IgGs are usually na-produce siya by transfusion or pregnancy. Okay? Ano yung longest half-life? Ayan, alam niyo na to, pasulat na lang. Longest half-life, di ba? 23 days. 23. O, saan pinakamagaling si IgG? Sa kama ba? Saan pinakamagaling si IgG? Most efficient in precipitation. Tandaan nyo lang. Yes. Okay. And guys, ang IgG, mostly ng mga secondary or anamnestic response antibodies natin or yung na-produce na antibodies after the second exposure to an antigen that's are composed of IgG. Ulitin ko IgG are secondary or anamnestic response antibody. Pag sinabi nating secondary, ito yung mga antibodies na na-produce natin after after the second exposure natin doon sa antigen. Naintindihan? Okay, subclass. Sabi ko nga sa inyo kanina may 4, 'di ba? IgG1, IgG2, IgG3, IgG4. Subclass, they differ only. Saan daw ba sila nagkakaiba? Nagkakaiba lang sila sa number and structure ng disulfide bonds. Okay, very good. At pinakamarami, guys, si IgG1, 67%, IgG2, 22%, IgG3, 7%, IgG4, 4%. Kung mapapansin ninyo, si IgG1 pasulat. Meron siyang 2 disulfide bond. Si IgG2 meron siyang 4 disulfide bonds. Si IgG3 meron siyang 15 disulfide bonds. And si IgG4 meron siyang what? 2 disulfide bonds. 2, 4, 15, 2. Major functions, provide immunity to the newborn, except what? IgG, what? 2. Very good. Next, fixation of complement. Except, sino lang hindi nag-fix ng complement except IgG? 4. IgG4. Best. Sinong pinakamagaling sa mga IgG mag-fix ng complement? Pinakamagaling si IgG3?
3.
Ay, sorry. 3. 3 muna. Tapos 1. And then si 2. Again, 3, 1, 2. Diyos ko, ang dami-dami ng numbers. 3, 1, 2. Kaya nyo yan. Ulit-ulitin nyo lang, matatandaan nyo. Ha? Pinakamagaling, IgG3 is greater than IgG1 is greater than IgG2. 3, 1, 2. Okay, opsonization din, neutralization of toxins and viruses, participation in agglutination and precipitation, which is most efficient nga siya sa precipitation. Guys, yung precipitation, agglutination, neutralization, papag-usapan natin mamaya-maya pa sa serological part. Pero tandaan nyo na yung mga terms na yon, alright? IgM is also known as, boom, macroglobulin. Kasi siya yung pinakamalaki, okay? Usually reactive naman. O yan, tawag dyan. Usually reactive siya at 20 degrees Celsius. So ibig sabihin, kabaliktaran ni IgG si IgM. IgM is a cold reacting antibody, therefore clinically insignificant siya. Okay? It is a cold reacting antibody, therefore clinically insignificant siya. Okay? Often naturally occurring, do not cross placental barrier. Bakit na kasi siya most primitive si IgM? Naalala pa ba? Siya yung unang lumilitaw during what? First appearance of surface immunoglobulin M sa immature B cell. Siya yung unang lumilitaw. Naalala? Hoy. Oh. Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Ako na
sir.
lang. First to appear in phylogeny and last to appear in senescence. Diba? Ang cute. First to appear in the primary. Ayan na nga. First to appear in the primary or immediate response to an antigen. So, ibig sabihin, kabaliktaran naman ni IgG. Kung si IgG secondary or anamnestic antibody siya, ito naman yung primary. IgM, ang antibodies na napoproduce natin in response doon sa unang exposure natin with the antigen. Naiintindihan ba yung differences nila? Guys, importante lahat ng to. Ayan nga, first to appear in B cell surface, largest antibody, most efficient. Saan naman siya pinakamagaling? Mas magaling siya kay IgG sa agglutination. Kung si IgG magaling sa precipitation, si IgM magaling sa agglutination. Again, nasabi ko na kanina, monomer saan?
Immature B Cell. Surface of B Cell.
Okay, monomer on surface of B cell and pentameric naman siya sa kapag nasa serum or plasma. Antibody, IgM, antibody most often formed in response to gram-negative bacteria. So major function, complement fixation, most efficient din siya doon, agglutination, yes, opsonization, neutralization of toxins. Example are Wassermann antibodies, heterophile antibodies, rheumatoid factor, cold agglutinins, and alloheme agglutinins. So IgA blank in circulation and with J chain when secreted. Uy, guys, kapag nasa serum or plasma siya, nasa circulation, ano siya?
Monomer.
Very good. Monomer siya sa circulation. Tapos meron naman daw siyang J chain kapag secreted. Meron nang nagko-connect na chain kasi dimeric na siya or dimer na siya when secreted or nasa secretions. Anong tawag dun sa secretory component ng IgA? It is IgA. Okay? It facilitates the transcytosis of IgA across mucosal surfaces and protects the Fc portion from enzymatic digestion. So IgD naman, present on the surface of immunocompetent but unstimulated B cells, play a role in B cell activation, maturation, and differentiation, primarily a cell membrane immunoglobulin found on the surface of B lymphocytes in association with IgM. Naalala ba ninyo si IgD? First appearance niya saan? During sa mature B cell. Tama. IgA, also known as reagenic immunoglobulin. Tawag sa kanya is reagin. This is the least abundant immunoglobulin in the serum. It is heat labile, madaling masira sa init, binds strongly to a receptor on mast cells and basophils. Naalala nyo ba to? It binds strongly to a receptor on mast cells and basophils together with antigen and mediates the release of histamine and heparin from these cells, promoting allergic reaction. So, pag tinanong kayo, IgA, importante siya sa allergic reaction. Uy, andun si mast cell. Uy, andun si basophil. Uy, may nag-attach na antigen. Therefore, si IgE, there's a reaction leading to what? Release of histamine, heparin. These are, tawag dito, vasodilators. Diba? Mga vasodilators to wherein nagre-result siya sa allergic reactions. Okay? Ayan na nga. Mediate some types of hypersensitivity or allergic reactions, allergies, anaphylaxis. Pag sinabi natin anaphylaxis, ito yung OA, yung exogenous na allergic reaction and is generally responsible for an individual's immunity to invading parasites. So naalala niyo ba sa parasitology, naalala niyo ba si Charcot-Leyden crystals? 'Di ba composition niya? Naalala niyo ba yung composition ni Charcot-Leyden crystals? Ay.
Yes,
Hoy,
sir.
ano yung composition ni Charcot-Leyden crystal? Di ba ang itsura niya bipyramidal polygonal structure? Nakalimutan ko na. Ano kasi itsura nun? Anong composition ng Charcot-Leyden crystal? Ayun lang. Hoy! Anyway, balik na tayo. Ayan na, structure of... alam niyo na to, di ba? Tama ba? Alam niyo na ba to? Be honest. Alam niyo na ba tong structure ng immunoglobulins? Hello? Anybody home? Hello? Uy, magsalita. Mag-unmute naman kayo. Wala akong
Hi,
kausap.
sir.
Alam niyo na to.
Yes, sir.
So nag-drawing na kayo nito, yung variable region, constant region. So alam niyo na pala to eh. So hindi ko na siya di-discuss, guys. Okay lang? Or discuss pa natin?
No, sir. Discuss.
Discuss mo, sir.
Ayun lang. Balik tayo dito. Okay. So, knowing natin kanina, kung mapapansin ninyo, uulitin ko, this is your, anong tawag dito? Heavy or light chain? Itong, kung saan ako nagdo-drawing. This is your?
Heavy.
Okay. Heavy chain. This is your heavy chain. Ang heavy din ng voice mo. But I love it. Okay. This is your, ito naman is, light chain. Light chain. Bakit ko siya hinati sa dalawa? Kung mapapansin niyo, my dear friends, etong part na to, ito yung variable or constant region. Okay, variable. Babago-bago kasi to. Ito, anong tawag dito sa part na to?
Constant.
Constant region. So kung tatanungin ko kayo, asan dito si variable heavy chains? Hoy. This is your, eto, saan si natawa ako dun ah. Anong tawag? Hindi nyo pala nakikita yung ano ko. Pero nakikita nyo ba tong ano to? Itong cursor ko? Cursor?
Yes.
Ito?
Yes.
Hoy. Anong tawag dito? Variable heavy chain. Variable heavy chain. Ito tawag. Variable
Constant.
Very good. Constant heavy chain. Ito na yung constant heavy chain. Okay? Ito ang tawag dito, variable
Light chain.
light chain. Ito, constant
Light.
light chain. Nagigets ba? Yes. And next tayo, anong tawag dito? Dito sa nagko-connect dito, anong tawag dito? This is your okay. Hinge or hinge region. May nakalimutan pa. Oo, may nakalimutan pa ako. Anong tawag dito? Si epitope. Kung kanina, meron tayong paratope, meron tayong epitope. Kabaliktaran naman ni paratope si epitope, my dear friends. Again, nasaan na kasi ulit si ano? Si paratope. This is your paratope, di ba? Ano naman ngayon? Ano na kasi ulit si paratope natin? This is your antigen binding site or antibody terminal. Kabaliktaran naman ni epitope. Ano naman si epitope?
Antigen.
Ano naman si epitope?
Antibody binding. Ay, joke lang.
Anong tawag sa kanya? Oo, kabaliktaran lang. Tama. It is also
tama,
called antibody binding site. Kasi
yes.
dito rin pwedeng mag-attach si antibody. Okay, dito rin pwedeng mag-attach si antibody. This is also called antibody binding site. Okay, antibody binding site or what we call antigen determinant. Antibody binding site or what we call antigen determinant. Okay na? May nakalimutan pa ba ako? Wala na. Naintindihan ba lahat? Ano yung mga terms natin kanina? Constant, variable, heavy, light, epitope, paratope, Fab, and FC. So tatandaan lahat yung mga yon. And hinge or hinge. Okay? Nasaan na ba tayo? Yay. Ay. Nakikita nyo na ba to? Ito. Okay na tayo. So, yan. Alam nyo na yan. So, may notes tayo dito. Nag-chat. Wait lang, nag-chat si Ma'am Maika. Teacher, lahat ba kayo teacher si Ma'am Maika Melad? Hello? Ay, hindi pala, no? Maika Melad. Classmate ko pala si Maika Melad nung Ellen. Sabaw. Ito yung sinasabi ko, sabaw ako. Kaya napapagalitan ako madalas minsan sa mga boss ko. Ganun kasi sabaw ako. Maika Galat. O pala. Maika Galat. Anong tinuturo ni Maika Galat, ni Ma'am Maika?
Yes, sir.
IS. Oo nga, anong section? Section.
A.
B at D, sir.
Okay, very
C
good.
lang ang D, sir.
Oh, I see. A, C, A, B. Sorry. Ito na notes, primary response and secondary response. Naalala yung sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, basahin nyo lang to. Ang primary response, okay, first or the initial exposure natin or response to an antigen. And guys, yung mga antibodies produced usually during primary response are of IgM class. Naalala ba yun? Secondary response naman responds to a pangalawang introduction ng same specific foreign antigen. This is also known as memory or anamnestic response, and such antibodies are usually IgG. Guys, sino kasi yung warm reactive antibody? IgG, IgM. Madali IgM. Oo. Hoy, IgM ka, IgG ang sagot.
IgM cold.
Madali lang yan. IgM, M, malamig, cold. Oh. Diba yan? Sabaw na rin kayo. So, correlation with blood bank. So, eto na yung ma-encounter natin sa blood bank as we go on soon sa lecture natin. What are the characteristics of blood group antibodies? So we have here polyclonal versus monoclonal antibodies. Feeling ko alam nyo tong mga to. Anong importance ng monoclonal and polyclonal? So, importante siya sa laboratory setup, okay, kasi ginagamit siya as your agent antibodies or what we call anti-sera. Yung polyclonal and monoclonal antibodies natin. So, polyclonal antibodies, which is mas in detail na i-discuss sa inyo ng IS teacher ninyo, pero ito muna yung kailangan nyo tandaan. Polyclonal represents a collection of antibodies from, ito yung mga keywords natin. Kaya poly, kasi galing siya sa different B cells that recognize multiple epitopes, maraming epitopes on the same antigen. Okay? Multiple epitopes on the same antigen. Okay. Asa na ba tayo? Wait lang, nagchat si Ma'am Maika. Kasi meron sa Monday pala? Sa Monday ba meron daw kayong seminar? Ano ba to? Tama ba? Ay, wala pala. Kay kami pala yun. Meron daw. Diyos ko, hindi na ako mag-a-attend sa mga ganito. Anyway, polyclonal antibodies are prepared using conventional method. Anong ginagamit natin to produce polyclonal antibodies? Gumagamit tayo ng mga hayop such as rabbits, sheep, and goats. Conventional method. Didiscuss yan ng mas maayos at precise and in detail ni Ma'am Maika or ni Sir Jack. Monoclonal antibodies natin, mono, from a single antibody producing B cell, therefore only binds with one unique epitope. Okay? Guys, huwag kayong malilito dun sa paratope, epitope ha. Ulitin natin na. Nasa paratope, nasa taas, baba.
Taas.
Nasa taas. Sino nagbabind kay paratope? Antigen or antibody?
Antigen.
Kaya tinawag na antigen binding site, tama?
Antigen binding.
Nagigets nyo ha? Uy, wag kayong malilito sa mga yun. Ang dami-dami nating terms dito, pero wag malilito, okay? So, monoclonal antibodies are produced via hybridoma technology. Kung ang polyclonal natin using conventional method, ito, hybridoma technology. May delayed siya, no? So, yun. Okay, gumagamit naman tayo ng daga dito sa paggawa ng monoclonal antibodies. Okay, mas okay gamitin ng monoclonal antibodies. Ano yung mga pros nito? Highly specific siya and uniformly reactive. Okay, so most in the laboratory setup, gumagamit ng monoclonal antibodies. So what are naturally occurring and immune antibodies? Ano naman yung difference ng dalawang to? Naturally occurring and immune antibodies. Uy, may mga naturally occurring antibodies pala tayo, no? There are two types of antibodies that concern blood banking. Tandaan to mga to. Naturally occurring and the other is immune. Both are produced in reaction to encountered antigens. Kung mapapansin niyo dito, my dear friends, sabi dito, ano din, therefore, ang naturally occurring antibodies? These are RBC antibodies. They are actually RBC antibodies, which are considered naturally occurring. They are found in the serum of individuals who have never been previously exposed to RBC antigens by transfusion, injection, or pregnancy. Nagets nyo ba yun? So meron ba tayong meron ba tayong antibodies sa katawan natin na, alam mo yun, na do we have naturally occurring antibodies? Meron ba? Meron ba, guys? Yes or no? Yes. Ano kaya itong mga to? Sabi nga dito, these antibodies are probably produced in response to substances in the environment that are highly similar to RBC antigens such as pollen grains and parts of bacteria. Ang galing, no? 'Di ba? Sabi natin, naalala, tinawag siyang ang cool, 'di ba? Tingnan niyo, naturally occurring siya. Pero sabi dito, RBC antibodies are considered naturally occurring. They are found in the serum of individuals who have never been previously exposed to RBC antigens by transfusion, injection, or pregnancy. 'Di ba sabi natin before, guys, na gagawa lang tayo ng antibodies when we are exposed to a specific antigen. Do you still remember that? Yes, 'di ba? Gagawa lang tayo ng antibodies. Pero tingnan niyo tong second statement. Bakit daw tayo may naturally occurring antibodies? These antibodies are probably produced in response to substances in the environment that are highly similar to RBC antigens such as pollen grains and parts of bacterial membranes. Magbibigay ako ng example sa inyo. Ito. Bakit kaya ang mga blood type, may tanong ako sa inyo sinong blood type B dito? Taas ang kamay. Akala ko nasa room ako. Oh my gosh. Sinong blood type B dito? Marami bang blood type B? Pasulat naman ng B kung bottom kayo. Char. Kung blood type B kayo. B. Ayan. Anong antigen ang meron kayo sa RBC surface nyo? B antigen. Tama? Anong antibody meron kayo? Anong antibody meron kayo? Pakompleto. Ayoko ng A na sagot. Anti-A. Very good. Anti-A. Bakit ka merong anti-A? Diba? Parang, ay, na-expose ba ako sa ano dati? Sa A antigen dati, kaya meron akong anti-A. Naiisip niyo ba yon? Naiisip niyo ba yon? Hello? Nagigets niyo ako? Di ba gagawa ka? Oo nga, no? Oo nga, di ba? Hindi. Sabi nga dito, tingnan niyo to itong statement, second statement, ulit-ulitin natin. These antibodies are probably produced in response to substances in the environment that are highly similar to RBC antigens such as pollen grains and parts of bacterial membranes. Example, hindi nyo ba alam na yung mga lectins natin, yung mga plants, yung mga pollen grains, mga lectins natin, meron kasi tayong tinatawag na lectins, which is what we call, for example, may isang lectin, dichlorus biflorus. Search ko lang, di ako sure Dichlorus biflorus. Dolichos biflorus. Guys, yung Dolichos biflorus kasi, kapareho niya si A antigen. Pareho sila ng structure ni A antigen. Kaya daw, nagkakaroon na tayo, for example, minsan, ng anti-A sa blood natin. Nagigets ba? So anyway, wag na yon. Okay. So naturally occurring antibodies, most naturally occurring antibodies are clinically insignificant. So hindi sila significant. They are expected to be in plasma. And sabi nga, IgM, clinically insignificant. They react best at cold temperature or lower. They can activate complement, and when active at 37 degrees Celsius, they can be hemolytic. So very, tandaan yung mga nakabold na yon. In normal healthy individuals, anti-A and anti-B are generally the only RBC antibodies expected to be found in a serum sample. So tatandaan nyo yan na anti-A and anti-B lang ang mga RBC antibodies natin na dapat normally nasa serum ng tao. And in blood banking, the common naturally occurring antibodies react with antigens of. Tandaan na, again, guys, yung mga naturally occurring antibodies natin, nagre-react lang daw siya sa antigens ng mga AB, age antigens, II, Lewis, MN, and P antigens. Again, naturally occurring antibodies, they react sa antigens ng AB, age, II, Lewis, MN, and P. Guys, wag malito. Itong mga to, these are your blood group antigens. Magkaiba ang blood group system. Ang blood group system natin, example, itong dalawang to AB, age, and age. AB, age, and age are antigens under ABO blood group system. Okay? So marami pa. Okay, pasample lang yan. So what about immune antibodies? So kabaliktaran naman, immune antibodies or RBC antibodies are considered immune when found in the serum of individuals who have been transfused or pregnant. These antigens are not generally found in nature and their molecular makeup is unique to human RBCs. So most immune RBC antibodies are clinically significant. IgG antibodies that react best at 37 degrees Celsius at kailangan nila ng anti-human globulin sera or what we call Coombs sera for detection. Ano to? Guys, itong reagent na to, kailangan yan ng IgG, ng immune antibodies ng mga clinically significant IgG antibodies. Bakit? Kasi ang IgG, when compared to IgM, monomer siya, di ba? So, kailangan niya pa ng isa pang reagent para ma-detect siya. Kasi si IgM, malaki na siya. So, soon, malalaman nyo soon. Basta ito muna yung kailangan yung tandaan, okay? So, sabi dito, the most common immune antibodies encountered in testing includes those that react with the antigens of Rh, Kel, Duffy, KID, and SS. So meron din tayong unexpected. Ay, kaloka. Unexpected antibodies, allo and auto. Antibodies, therefore, can be either allo or auto. When we say allo, produced after exposure to genetically different or non-self antigens of, di ba tandaan, of the same species, such as different RBC antigen after transfusion. Example, transfused components may elicit the formation of allo antibodies against antigens not present in the recipient. So, not much on that. So, yun lang kailangan tandaan. Autoantibodies produced in response to self-antigens. And some autoantibodies that do not have a detectable specificity are referred to as pan or polyagglutinin. So, marami tayong autoantibodies, guys, wherein they react dun in response to self-antigens. So, yun. Okay? And lastly, tapos na tayo sa antibodies. Pag-usapan naman natin ngayon si antigen. So, ano ba ang antigen versus immunogen? So, bladder break muna ulit, 2 minutes. Ay, Huy, Alfred, kamusta ka naman? Ano si Alfred? Alfred, magsalita ka naman.
Sir.
Kumusta?
Sir.
Kamusta ka?
Okay lang, sir.
Asan si Sir Jake?
Ewan ko, sir. Nasa bahay na tayo.
Asan si Aljud? Aljud, asan siya?
Nasa bahay nila, sir.
I mean, hindi kayo mag-ao nga pala, no? Uy, mga tropa dito. Si Dave, Dave Ikin, kamusta ka naman dyan?
Sir.
Ay, kamusta kayo?
Ay po, sir.
Nakaya niya pa. Parang ang hirap-hirap nitong online, no? Kaya niya. Sino po ba itong mga to? Hindi ko pa kayo pala nakikilala lahat, no? Gusto ko sana makilala. Anong section ulit to? Section C, no? C. O tapusin natin itong antigen. At sige nga, gusto ko naman kayo mamaya, saglitan lang. Gusto ko makilala, ang pangit, hindi ko nafe-feel, alam mo yun, discuss ko lang tong antigen, mabilisan. Ang bilis lang ba to? Ay, Diyos ko, marami na naman pala. Diyos ko, ang dami na naman i-memorize. Ano ba yan? Anyway, so, immunogen versus antigen. So, what's the difference between immunogen and an antigen? So, immunogen is a substance capable of inducing an immune response, while an antigen is a substance with the ability to combine with an antibody. Okay? So, naalala natin kanina, what again is your epitope? Epitope is your, hello? Epitope is the?
Antibody binding site.
Very good. So, antigen are complex polysaccharides or protein substances on high molecular weight which stimulates the production of antibodies. Ulit-ulit tayo dyan when introduced in a foreign circulation. So there are two parts of an antigen, which is what we call carrier and a hapten. A carrier is protein in nature, high molecular weight, and immunogenic. And a hapten, non-protein siya, therefore low molecular weight, but antigenic. A complete antigen, therefore, is composed of carrier with a hapten, and an incomplete antigen is composed only of hapten. And there are factors affecting immunogenicity. Foreignness. Gaano ba ka-foreign yung antigen sa katawan natin? Kung mapapansin natin dito, sabi, the greater the difference, the greater the immune response. The more foreign the substance or the more foreign the antigen, the greater the immune response. Pag malilito, the greater the immune response, ibig sabihin, the greater yung production natin ng antibody against that antigen. So we have here terminologies. Pag sinabi natin autoantigen, antigen derived from the same individual. Alloantigen, antigen derived from the different individual of the same species. heteroantigen, antigen derived from the different species, and heterophile antigens, antigens seen in unrelated plants or animals that tend to cross-react with other antibodies. So guys, itong notes na to, wag na. About graph lang naman siya.
Sir, nakamute po kayo.
Ako, I'm sorry, kanina pa ako nagsasalita. Sabi ko, kanina pa ba kayo nag-start? Nag-start na ba kayo sa ibang subjects nyo? Wait lang, ano pala yung mga subjects nyo ngayon? Hema 2. Sige nga, pabanggit lahat.
Mycoviro po, sir.
Tapos?
CC2, sir.
IS po. Tsaka research.
Ay, konti lang pala. Kayang-kaya. Immunohema pa.
Opo.
O, yun yung pinakamadali sa subjects nyo. Immunohema. Ayan. Ano yun? Ano yun? Parang ungol. O, game. Letter B, size. Molecular size. Yan. Siyempre, mas malaki, mas... Oy, mas malaki, mas...
Maganda.
Ay, Heart Week, bakit maganda?
Maganda.
Bakit Heart Week? Sino ba yun sa Heart Week yun? Eh, di ba maraming bading sa batch nyo? Bakit parang sa Heart Week lang nakikita ko?
Naging lalaki na sila, sir. Nagbalik ako.
Sino? Sino? Talaga ba? Bagay,
Walang ata babae sa kanila, sir.
Ano? Wala nang? Or Heart Week, magsalita ka. Wala nang?
Sir, hindi sila bakla.
Ah, hindi. Parang bakla lang sila. Ganon.
Babae na sila, sir.
Gaga. Okay, yun nga sabi natin, the larger the size, the greater the immune response. Tama. Guys, kailan ba natin masasabi na ang antigen is potent kapag ang kanyang size is actually more than 10,000 Daltons. Okay? And ano yung protein natin, ano yung composition ng antigen natin wherein it is considered good immunogen daw kapag ganun yung structure niya when it is composed of what? Albumin. Albumin has a molecular weight of 40,000 Daltons. Okay? And the excellent immunogen so far is your hemocyanin. Hemocyanin. Okay, meron siyang...
Sir, hindi pa ata naka-display yung sir? Module po.
Ay, okay. Paano ba?
Yung folder niyo po yung nakikita namin, sir.
Ay. Paano ba to? Okay, new share. Okay, thanks. Again, the excellent immunogen is your hemocyanin with a molecular weight of 1 million Daltons. Next, chemical composition and complexity. Okay? Increase daw yung complexity ng ating antigen, therefore, increase din yung immune response. The most immunogenic daw na chemical composition ng antigen is kapag it is composed of proteins. Second, when it is composed of polysaccharide. Okay? And the least immunogenic when your antigens are composed of nucleic acids or lipids. Okay? Again, proteins, polysaccharide, nucleic acids, or lipids. Route, dosage, or timing. Okay? Generally, intravenous and intraperitoneal routes are effective na makapag-induce ng immune response. But intravenous offers stronger stimulus than subcutaneous or intramuscular. And sabi dito, those response may be partially dependent on the nature of the immunogen processing. Generally, the smaller dose, the less likely a response. So for example, sa vaccine, di ba? Kapag, di ba sabi natin, ang vaccine, weakened antigen. So pag maliit yung dose, therefore, less likely yung response. Next naman, adjuvants. Ano naman ang adjuvants natin? Ang primary function ng adjuvants natin, they enhance or pinapa-increase nila ang immune response. They stimulate T cell for enhanced cell-mediated immunity. They stimulate B cells for enhanced humoral-mediated immunity and stimulate also phagocytic cells. Examples ng mga adjuvants natin sa market, meron yung tinatawag na complete Freund adjuvant. It is composed of water in oil emulsion of Mycobacterium butyricum or Bordetella pertussis. It stimulates your T cells. Lipopolysaccharides naman, these are adjuvants that stimulate T cells. Alum, these are adjuvants that stimulate phagocytic cells. And isqualene, it is used for HIV vaccine or tinatawag nating MF59. And antigen presentation, nabanggit ko sa inyo, my dear friends, na ang antigen presentation natin, tandaan, kailangan natin ng antigen presenting cells na magprepresent ng antigen sa T cells. Ano na kasing kailangan pa na isa? Kailangan ng MHC. Yung MHC na yun yung bridge, di ba? Para makilala ni T cells yung present na antigen ni antigen presenting cell. Sabi dito, antigens recognized by lymphocytes are often bound to specialized integral membrane protein complexes on cell surfaces. These abundant antigen presenting proteins are parts of what we call MHC or major histocompatibility complex. And there are two types, MHC1 or MHC2. Proteins ng MHC of both classes 1 and 2, which on human cells are often called human leukocyte antigens, and they are encoded by genes in large chromosomal loci having very high degrees of allelic variation between different individuals. Magkakaiba daw tayo. So sabi dito, T lymphocytes are specialized to recognize both classes of MHC proteins and the antigens they present. Okay? If the MHCs on cells of a tissue graft are not similar to those that T lymphocytes encountered during their development, the grafted cells will induce a strong immune reaction by T cells of the recipient. To these lymphocytes, the unfamiliar MHC epitopes on the graft cells are recognized as markers potentially tumorigenic, infected, or otherwise abnormal non-self cells that they must eliminate. So, okay, ang daming sinabi. Pero yung yung importance lang nito guys, your MHC are important for your T cells to recognize an antigens presented by antigen-presenting cells. Naiintindihan? So, what are MHC? So, MHC are cluster of genes found in MHC, what? Chromosome 6. MH6. Okay, C6. Nakikita sila sa chromosome 6. They regulate, They regulate the immune response and play a role in graft rejection. So, sabi natin kanina, there are 2 types of MHC. Pero guys, latest, may pangatlong class, which is i-discuss ko konti lang. So guys, MHC class, MHC class 2, genetic loci. So, saan sila located? Si MHC class 1, located sila sa HLA, Human Leukocyte Antigen A, B, and C. And your MHC class 2 naman, okay, genetic loci, HLA, BP, BQ, and DR. BP, BQ, and DR. Okay? So what is the chain structures of MHC class 1? MHC class 1 is composed of an alpha chain and beta-2 microglobulin, and your MHC class 2 is composed of alpha and beta chains. Again, MHC class 1 is composed of alpha 1 and, alpha chain and beta-2 microglobulin, and your MHC class 2 is composed of alpha and beta chain. So here, MHC class 1, very important. What is the function of MHC class 1? Guys, do you still remember, di ba? Guys, sino na kasi yung T cells natin na nag-express ng CD marker CD4-8?
Helper.
CD4, T helper cells. CD8, T cytotoxic. Okay, tandaan lang yon. Very good. Tingnan niyo to pasulat, makinig ng mabuti. MHC class 1. Ang MHC class 1, they present endogenously synthesized, okay? Endogenously synthesized antigens, okay? Lahat ng antigens, endogenously synthesized antigens. While your MHC class 1, they present exogenously sa labas ng cell, okay? Exogenously synthesized na antigen. Again, example ng MHC class 1 ng endogenously synthesized na mga infected cells natin, yung mga virus, tumor, yung mga yan. While yung sa MHC class 2 exogenously, mga bacteria. 'Di ba? Kasi 'di ba ang virus intracellular sila, 'di ba? Nasa loob ng cells. So endogenously. Again, ulitin ko endogenously, they present endogenously synthesized antigen, MHC class 1, exogenously synthesized antigens, MHC class 2. Cell distribution, saan makikita ang MHC class 1? Okay, ang MHC class 1, nakikita sila all nucleated cells except sa sperm and trophoblast. While MHC class 2, nakikita naman sila sa lahat ng antigen-presenting cells. Okay? Again, tingnan natin dito, ang MHC class 1. Si MHC class 1 natin, saan sila nagpe-present ng antigen? Kanino? T cells. Sa anong T cells? T cytotoxic cells. Tandaan nyo yun T cytotoxic cells. Nagpe-present sila ng antigens, okay? Pinapresent nila yung antigen sa T cytotoxic cells. Anong CD marker ulit ng T cytotoxic cells? CD8. While your MHC class 2, they present antigens to T helper cells. Ano kasing CD marker meron si MHC class 2? 4. Madali lang tandaan to guys MHC class 2 times 4, 8. So dapat equal lagi sa 8. MHC class 1 times 8, 8. O, di ba ang dali lang? O, yun yung mga tandaan natin. Okay? Okay. Yung MHC class 3 naman natin, guys, genetic loci niya sa mga complement proteins. Pasulat, complement protein siya. Okay? Complement proteins. Example, yung mga complement proteins are your C2, complement 2, complement 4, and your factor B. Complement 2, complement 4, and factor B. Okay. So correlation with blood bank, characteristics of antigens. The immune response is initiated by the presentation of an antigen or immunogen to the immune system, and the immune system is determining the antigen is non-self. The term antigen is more commonly used in blood banking because the primary testing concern is the detection of antibodies to blood group antigens. So yun yung concern natin ha. Kapag nagtatransfuse, di ba, for example, in transfusion practice kasi, my dear friends, dapat walang antibody doon sa dugo na itatransfuse natin against doon sa antigen na meron tayo. Bakit? Kapag may antibody doon sa dugo na transfuse sa atin, ano mangyayari? Magkakaroon ng serologic reaction leading to hemolysis kasi. Okay, nagkakaroon ng hemolytic transfusion reaction. So sabi dito, the testing concern in blood banking is i-detect natin yung antibodies doon sa dugo na itatransfuse sa pasyente against doon sa blood group antigens nung pasyente or recipient. Okay? Remember that RBC antigens are very diverse in structure and composition may be. Tandaan na itong mga to. Lahat ng blood group antigens natin na proteins in nature are Rh, M, and N. Okay? Ang mga glycolipids naman natin, they are ABH antigens. Yung mga Lewis antigens natin, II, P, blood group substances or antigens. And human leukocyte antigens or HLAs are considered glycoproteins. Kung mapapansin natin dito, taken by harmony, the relative immunogenicity of different blood group antigens. Kung mapapansin natin, ang pinaka-immunogenic na na blood group system is Rh. And the most immunogenic blood group antigen is D antigen, which is under blood group system of Rh, about 50% immunogenicity. Guys, huwag kayo malilito ha. Itong mga to, blood group system to. Kaya siya tinawag na system kasi very diverse siya. Si Rh natin, marami siyang antigens. Pero yung pinaka-immunogenic na antigen niya is D antigen. Marami pa tong antigens, guys. Merong C, capital C, small c, capital E, small e. So marami tayong papag-aralan na numbers, letters. So, sit back and relax. Alright. Oy. So what are the diseases important in blood banking? Yan. Immunodeficient. So when you are immunodeficient, diba, it's considered a disease already. They can result from defects in either innate or adoptive immunity or both. The cause is often not known. Immunodeficiencies can influence blood bank test results and transfusion decisions, such as when there is a false negative reverse grouping for ABO due to low immunoglobulin levels. So, guys, very important to us medical technologists in the blood bank setup na we should know yung mga different diseases that are important daw sa decision natin, transfusion decision natin. Kasi guys, merong mga result na false positive, false negative. Why? Kasi iba, may ReLU formation, kukunti yung antibody, kaya hindi na-detect, pero may antibody naman pala siya. So, hindi pa rin pwede i-transfuse. Nagigets nyo ba? Pero, nung testing, walang antibody detected, pero may antibody pala siya. Yun pala, may disease yung nag-donate. May sakit yung nag-donate kasi mababa yung antibodies niya. So what are the different diseases important in blood banking? We have antibody or B cell immunodeficiency disorders. Ang dami niyan. So walang kailangang explain. Alam niyo nang kailangang gawin. Hala. Yes. We're done with immunodeficiencies, monoclonal and polyclonal gammopathies. So ito yung mga diseases pa rin. Plasma cell neoplasms result in proliferation of abnormal immunoglobulin from either a single B cell clone, monoclonal gammopathies, or multiple clones, what we call polyclonal gammopathies, and maybe a specific isotype or only light or heavy chain molecules. Anong result kapag ang donor natin or yung patient merong monoclonal or polyclonal gammopathies? Guys, sobrang lapot ng dugo nila. Increased serum viscosity. And tandaan, it can interfere with blood bank tests. Example, multiple myeloma. Multiple myeloma, di ba? Naalala natin, increase yung concentration ng serum proteins. Therefore, it can cause non-specific aggregation or erythrocytes called ROLU. Naalala niyo yung ROLU? Yung ROLU natin, para siyang stack of coin appearance ng RBC. Alam mo yung parang RBC, nagpatong-patong. Mukha siyang, ayan, stack of coin appearance. Kaya mukha siyang nag-agglutinate. Pero wala naman talaga dapat antigen-antibody reaction. Wala naman dapat agglutination. Pero because the patient has a multiple myeloma, nakita natin or detected by or yung testing natin, nagkaroon ng agglutination. Pero that's not a true agglutination. It is just an aggregation of erythrocytes called ROLU. So there's a false positive result sa test natin. Okay, naiintindihan ba yun? Alright. We have here sa line replacement technique. Ito yung technique natin para ma-distinguish daw natin yung totoong agglutination doon sa non-specific aggregation or what we call ROLU formation, which is soon i-discuss ko to. Ito muna yung kailangan tandaan, ha? Ito yung technique para malaman natin kung yung agglutination ba totoo or it is just a ROLU formation because of non-specific aggregation of erythrocytes just because yung pasyente increase yung serum proteins kasi merong multiple myeloma. We have also autoimmune diseases. Okay, autoimmune diseases, or we have here autoantibodies are produced against the host's own cells and tissues. Serum autoantibodies may interfere with alloantibody detection and compatibility testing. So HDN, tandaan ang HDN to be discussed. Ang dito, HDN can result when the maternal immune system produces an antibody directed at an antigen present but absent from maternal cell. And of course, serology na tayo. Ay, 9 na pala. Okay. So, we're done. Ay, ang bilis naman natin. Okay, so we're done with immunology. Oy, ang galing nyo. Natapos nyo ang immunology, ha? Ay, oo, nag-chat si Eunice. Yes, hanggang sa susunod din. Para magbibigay ako ng immunology na exam next week. Marami-rami to. Okay, so naintindihan naman so far. Ang dami, no? Ang dali-dali lang yan. Masyado na bang... Okay naman, kaya naman so far. Guys. Hoy, magsalita kayo.
Yes, sir.